The Golden Knights clinched the Pacific Division title for the fourth time in 8 seasons after topping the Nashville Predators 5-3 in Jonathan Marchessault's return. And will the VGK now bring up minor league players in the final couple of games, or will they try to pass Dallas for the second seed in the conference? More ahead right here on this edition of Locked On Golden Knights.
You're Locked On Golden Knights, your daily podcast on the Vegas Golden Knights, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Well, hi again, everyone. The start of a new week. Welcome, Tony Cardasco and Chris Golick from Las Vegas. I am a longtime sportscaster, marketing consultant, and the host of Believe in Vegas podcast on the Believe Network. And he is Chris Golick. He is a VGK season ticket holder. He is collectibles editor for the Hockey News and the owner of Silver State Cards and Sports. Thank you so much for making us your first listen each and every day. And make sure that you subscribe to our Locked On Golden Knights YouTube channel. Coming up ahead today, Aiden Hill, 50 starts for the Vegas Golden Knights, the Big 5-0. And VGK still doesn't know who to prepare for the playoffs. It's one of 3 teams at this point. The Golden Knights, Chris, wrapping up yet another Pacific Division title Saturday night. VGK with that 5-3 win, thanks to a Noah Hannafin goal with under 2 minutes remaining from the point. He first of all passed up a shot there, right on the wing, and then he circles around, goes up top, and then he pots the game winner with about 1:55 to go. And then Ivan Barbashev with the insurance goal, 2 seconds remaining on the empty netter.
Weird game for a little while, and as you're watching, you're seeing the chances the Golden Knights are getting, and you're seeing the chances the Preds were not getting. I was curious. I didn't look it up until just now before we started, and the Golden Knights had 16 high danger chances to the Preds 7. Adin, the goaltender for the Preds, had a very good game. Got to give him credit for keeping the Preds in the game, but it kind of felt like it was coming at some point, and then the third period starts and the game gets tied. It's like, oh crap, what are we doing here? And then, like you said, Hannafin at the end, that's the goal that put the Golden Knights 4th Pacific Division banner into the T-Mobile Arena rafters in 8 seasons. I still cannot wrap my head around the success this team has and has had. And just a reminder, it is not supposed to be like this. We are incredibly fortunate for what we get to experience year in and year out. And just go see what Canada's done for the last 3 decades. They've done nothing. Go look at what the Sabres and the Sharks and the Blackhawks and all these teams that just struggle mightily for so long. You know, this is fun. Enjoy this.
Talk about trick shots. Nashville with a couple of them. Not VGK for once. First, the Jordan Osterley goal. That went off of, first to start the breakout on the 4-on-2. It goes off of a referee's skate. And everyone on State Run is like, oh my gosh. Oh, it went off the, okay, great. And that keyed the 4-on-2. And then we saw Mark Del Gaizo with the trick shot. A puck goes off of his helmet, off of an Andreas Englund shot, slap shot, and it goes into the net. That's using your noggin, bro. That was a pretty good goal.
That's funny.
Trick
I didn't even
shot.
catch that.
It is trick shot season, bro.
Yeah, I didn't even catch that in real time that it happened like that. That's pretty crazy. The visualizer doesn't give it to me. But, you know, listen, I mean, that's what it took for the Preds to really get anything going. We'll talk more about Aiden Hill, of course, in the second segment. But Hill did his job, and the pucks that went in were, you know, kind of weird circumstances that necessarily don't happen in every game. So the Golden Knights are making their layups, so to speak, as far as doing what they're supposed to do on the ice. They're making their layups in the sense that they're, I don't know if they handled the Preds easily, but when you look at some of the advanced metrics, they definitely played the right game, and type of game where you will beat not just teams like the Preds and, you know, the bottom tier teams, but those are the types of games you need when you do match up against Edmontons and LA and Winnipeg and Dallas and Colorado, so on and so forth. Some of the upper tier teams that the Golden Knights will likely, at least, you know, 2 of those teams the Golden Knights will likely face, hopefully, in the run for their possible second Stanley Cup and third Stanley Cup appearance in 8 seasons.
Wow. Yeah. And let's talk about the Jonathan Marchessault in the room. So Jonathan Marchessault's return to Las Vegas, one of the best tribute videos I have seen, I can remember, for the return of a player. The longest standing ovation, right, that they've ever given to any player, even including Marc-Andre Fleury. That was incredible.
Fleury's was different because his was before the game, and I don't know if that matters or not. Like I think a lot of times at least in Fleury's case, they approached him and asked if he wanted his tribute before the game started so he can kind of lock in, or if it comes after that first commercial break with 14 minutes or less remaining. So maybe that played in, but I think Fleury's was a little bit better still. That's just me.
So you panned over via video, and you have a shot of Kelly McCrimmon and George McPhee. You were at the game. What did you observe?
Nothing.
A sitting O? Was it a sitting O? There wasn't
there wasn't a single clap. And, some fans were saying, oh, they don't react to any of the players when they return. I don't know about that. I haven't, to be honest, this is the first time I've ever really keyed in on their box in a moment like this. Only other time I really keyed in on their box was actually when they played the Minnesota Wild in the playoffs a few years ago. It was the Game 7. And was it the Donoff that got not the Donoff, who was before that? He's on Edmonton now. I can picture the guy, but I can't think of his name. He got a hat trick in a Game 7 as a late, I don't know, it was a trade deadline acquisition or what it was. And I saw McPhee and McCrimmon kind of like laughing about that, like, hey, good job getting that guy, bro. But yeah, I mean, no reaction, not a single golf clap, not a polite, and I noticed a lot of times McCrimmon and McPhee also, they usually sit down on that first like bench, like overlooking, and they also are kind of sitting higher up in the perch this time. I don't know if there's any reason behind that, but I don't know. It would have been nice just to see a little, a little golf clap, a little show of emotion and affection, but they didn't, and that's that. And I mean, the word at the time I used was classless, and I think it was kind of classless. Marchessault is the reason, one of the many reasons, but a big reason for that Stanley Cup banner that sits right over their head every time they look around when they're sitting up, when they're sitting on that perch. And the reason for a long time fans spent lots and lots of money to go to games at T-Mobile Arena. And, it's a two-way street. What Marchessault meant to the Golden Knights, what the Golden Knights meant to Jonathan Marchessault and his family. A simple 10-second clap, smile,
stand up,
would have been nice.
Stand up and give him his flowers. Stand up and stop being a bunch of classless duds. Seriously. Like I've sat next to, I
said it was a classless moment. You said classless duds. You can have that one. I won't go that far.
I thought that was bad. I just thought that's just absolutely
to be
horrible.
fair, it was a messy breakup. All right. It was a messy
doesn't matter.
breakup.
That doesn't matter.
It shouldn't matter, but you can't acknowledge just the Marchessault side.
So petty.
Just a negative. You don't acknowledge both sides.
This is the pettiness. This is the pettiness of the front office that keeps me away all the time. It's the pettiness. Well, Marchessault scores his 20th goal.
Don't forget about the pettiness. Don't forget about how good this team is on the ice and stuff, though. And it's a two-way street. We're going to have to, as fans, as media people, as whatever it is that you and I do,
I don't know
what we do. We have to accept that the success that this team has does come with a price, and at times that price is going to be a couple petty suits in that box. And you know what? I'll get over it. I'll get over it when I'm watching Stanley Cup hockey in June.
I'm not. Low budget. Yeah, times 2. X2. Brett Howden, Alexander Holtz. Holtzy filling in for Olofsson scores his 4th goal for the VGK on the IKEA line. I don't know what's going on there. Does VGK try to win out now, or do they, we said throttle down last week because they are now a point ahead of fading Dallas. Dallas is really starting to fade, and now we know why Pete DeBoer was really upset with that team a couple of weeks ago. They just didn't have the effort at that time, and maybe he's losing the locker room. Who knows? But do the Golden Knights try to get that number 2 seed, because then they would get another round of home ice advantage if it progresses that far.
Well, the way that it works as far as home ice and stuff like that, if you win your division, that assures you home ice in the first 2 rounds. Rounds 3 and then the Stanley Cup final are simply based on overall points, not being a division champion. So if they do pass the Dallas Stars, and should the Golden Knights and the Stars meet in the conference final, then that would assure the Golden Knights, of course, having that home ice advantage if they have more points than the Dallas Stars. And also, should the Golden Knights make it to the Stanley Cup final, depending on who their Eastern Conference opponent is, the points do matter for the home ice advantage. So the question was about throttling down. Do they continue? And I think the answer is they continue the best they possibly can. The throttle's already down. I will comfortably state that if these were meaningless games or meaningful games happening, and they're meaning, don't get me wrong, there's meaning, but this isn't last year where the Golden Knights were still trying to clinch that playoff spot in game 79 or game 80 or whatever it was. The Golden Knights are comfortably in the playoffs. They've got the Pacific locked up right now. The throttle's been turned down already because you don't have Eichel, Pietrangelo, and some other players out there right now who are arresting what we'll probably call ailing, ailments that are
ailing ailments,
nagging injuries, ailing ailments. So they're just kind of hanging out right now. And I think if these games mattered, they would be out there playing. So as far as like you said earlier about bringing up more players from the American League and stuff like that, there's only so many things the team can do right now as far as moving players around with the roster limitations and everything. There was like 6 healthy scratches announced already at the game. They announced Cole Schwindt even as a healthy scratch on Saturday's game.
Schwindt.
So
why is this guy still around?
He's on the well. I think he was probably the 19th skater if something happened on Saturday. So the throttle's down a little bit, but that doesn't mean they're not trying to win out right now. They got Vancouver coming up. That game is not. It doesn't mean anything for either side. But the Flames, that they close against the Flames, or which way is it for the Flames?
No, Flames, then Canucks.
Flames are first. So the Flames are still, and we'll talk about the playoff picture more, but there's meaningful hockey still being played in Calgary, and that game could matter a lot. It might matter a lot more for Calgary than Vegas.
We are finding out that Alex Pietrangelo's illness is actually an injury. Oh, boy. Cassidy said, not the same one that kept Petro out of the 4 Nations. And then no Eichel again, although he has been skating with VGK, as has Pietrangelo. Nick Hague and Victor Golesson missing Saturday's game. Again,
those are the illnesses, we think.
Is that an illness? So the other day, I felt sick, right? It was like a 12-hour flu. It wasn't 24. I don't know what it was. I came home, didn't feel great, had a little fever, turned it around, back in action the next morning. This is an illness. It shouldn't be lasting that long.
So you're comparing our day-to-day lives to NHL players, and if we have a little illness, we keep going, but they
just keep going. We have to work, bro. That's it.
Got it.
Coming up next, Aiden Hill plays his 50th game in net. Who would have thunk it, Nakalik? Back with more right after this on Locked On Golden Knights. Scaling your business requires the right expertise at the right time. With Upwork, you can find specialized freelancers in marketing, development, design, and more. Experts ready to help to take your business to the next level. Upwork gives flexibility to businesses by connecting them with top freelance talent, such as myself. I don't know if I'm top or not, but I have done some work via Upwork, which is really cool on the marketing end, helped out some local businesses, talent across multiple industries. That includes IT, AI, web development, and marketing. Whether you need extra hands for a project or for a long-term partner, Upwork makes the hiring simple and affordable. And if you need help with a marketing campaign, Upwork can help to connect you with a freelance expert who delivered incredible results. Posting a job is free and simple, and within a day, you get multiple qualified candidates to choose from. Instead of hiring full-time, Upwork makes it affordable, and you can find some top-tier freelancers to scale your business effectively and efficiently. Visit Upwork.com right now and post your job for free. That's Upwork, Upwork.com, Upwork.com, to connect with top talent and to grow your business today. New week, back with this edition of Lockdown Golden Knights. Tony Cardasco and Chris Golick. We appreciate you making us your first listen every day, just like Troy Daniel. Thanks. Nice shout out for our guy, Troy Daniel. Had his dance team last night at the Vegas Thrill event at the match there. I'm not going to talk about results. We'll not talk about what happened. But Troy Daniel and his dance troupe, phenomenal. Great job. And thanks for shouting me out on the X. And likewise, daily listener, he even mentioned the fog. If you mention the fog, then we know that you are an everydayer.
If we're shouting out, John Price was able to exchange a few words with him. He was in town for a couple of days and said hello to me and Chris for a few minutes up in 217 hanging out. So always nice matching face with the name. And John, you constantly comment and follow our stuff, so very appreciated.
Thank you, John.
And very nice to meet you.
Thank you, John. So he's the VGK fan in Toronto. So he came a long way to support the Golden Knights. So thanks so much.
Had to catch a red eye late on Saturday too, so he's committed.
I'm sure he was standing for Marchessault. Okay, hard to believe, but Aiden Hill has now started 50 games for the season, and on Saturday night it was his 50th time in net. Chris, so someone pulled up an old tweet of yours from back in June.
Good, I like that. I appreciate it.
It was good. It was good because guess what, though? I'm on the same page as you. So here's how it went. You said, fair question. I don't know what the question was, but you always have an answer. And you always start with that's fair or the fair question. Anyway, fair question. Going off the last two seasons, I'm sure Aiden is capable of 50. I'm not sure that Aiden is capable of 50 appearances. And now he has 32 wins in 50 starts. I was on the Golick bandwagon, too. I didn't think that he would have 50 starts. Are you kidding me? Based on his past performances, he had 35, was his highest season ago. This is 15 more.
So 21-22 with the Sharks, 25 appearances. Comes to Vegas, 22-23 as the backup, gets 27 starts. Of course, that's the Stanley Cup year when the playoffs worked out pretty well, for him, too. 23-24, now we're at 35 appearances. So we're trending in the right direction. Still some injury issues. That number would have been significantly higher, but definitely some injury issues. Fast forward to the current year, he's going to get 51 starts. 51 starts. That's a great number. Of course, there was concern, I think it was Zabowski that pulled up the tweet from something of June of 2024, something like that. And it was a fair statement that I made at the time. It was a fair question, whatever was asked about Aiden, and good on Aiden for proving myself wrong and proving everyone else wrong when it came to questioning his health and durability based on his trends. This wasn't just an opinion type of thing. It's simply looking at the chart okay, this is, and we're talking a 28-year-old. We're not talking a 22, 23-year-old trying to work out what it's like being a professional hockey player and managing his body. A lot of stories in the off season. I heard changes in his pads and his equipment setup and everything. And he's got it all working. And the Golden Knights, minus when Samsonov came up, pulled up lame, if you will, in the pregame. You like that? Minus when he pulled up lame. Hill has not played consecutive days in a back-to-back. His starts were pretty well managed, and you can tell there was a plan from Cassidy and more or less Sean Burke coming into the season about how Hill's workload was going to be managed. I'm assuming 50 was the magic number they wanted to hit, and Hill has not had, besides an illness, I believe, after the Four Nations flu, so to speak. That was his only ailment throughout the season that we're aware of. So good on Aiden. And while we're talking about him here, we're talking about the regular season appearances and everything. We're also talking about a goalie with a 9.32 career save percentage in the playoffs. I didn't realize that until right now. That's pretty spectacular. So if it's time to see a playoff Aiden, the Golden Knights could be in line for another nice long spring of hockey.
Speaking of pulling up lame, Steve Carp and I bet the ponies on Saturday together.
Oh God!
What
track? Low sale quarters. Penn
Every
National?
single Sunland, every single stinking track, the dogs, not
Belmont?
one ticket cashed, not one.
That's standard.
Yeah, that was pretty
I should
standard.
have gone
Off
with you.
track,
I would have faded everything. I'd have been rich.
off track at Aqueduct, by the way, that was pretty brutal. Only one goal his fault on Saturday night for Aiden Hill. The 4-on-2 break, that was a trick play off the referee skate, starts the 4-on-2 break, and then the puck off the noggin. And Marchessault beat him pretty good, though. He did beat him good. So just one goal. But he doesn't frequently, he doesn't win games in which he gives up 3 or more goals, essentially.
A lot of goalies don't.
Yeah. So that's, yeah. Are we going to see Samsonov again here in the final 2? And what makes you believe that Adin Hill's going to get another start? Why would he? Stay sharp?
Because you don't want him to go a full calendar week between games. The playoffs should be starting in Vegas Saturday or Sunday. I keep hearing people mentioning Easter Sunday. That's why I keep hearing
it's got to be Easter Sunday. Saturday's some WrestleMania stuff going on.
Well, WrestleMania is Saturday and Sunday. Both days.
Okay, so wow.
Unless they're doing like that NXT event on Saturday.
What is the over under on Golden Knights appearances at a WrestleMania event? Or wait. I got it. Someone is going to body slam Chance the Raptor again. Didn't he get body slammed once?
Here's why you're not going to see Chance out there. And again, this is just a guess on my part.
No, is he on LTIR too?
Well, Chance has done appearances with AEW, a competitor of WWE. But now we have the Mark Chinook combination because Mark Chinook, i.e. Mark Nash, is now the Friday Night SmackDown announcer.
Body slam that guy.
So maybe you will see some. I wouldn't be surprised if there was some. I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if there was some type of Vegas Golden Knights representation.
There has to be, right? Cool. There has to be some VGK going on there. Okay,
that'd be fun. Let's get Aiden Hill and let's get. How about McCrimmon, McPhee, Jonathan Marchessault in a fatal 3-way?
Okay, so I was starting to tell you earlier. I sat in a box
triple threat,
right next to. Well, Bill Foley was the triple threat. He was the third part of that triumvirate, and so I don't think that word came out right, but that's okay. We'll proceed. So those 3 guys, McCrimmon, McPhee, and McFoley, were all there in the box. I watched them the entire game, and they did not even look at each other. They all just look ahead. And then if Foley claps, then the other 2 henchmen, the made men are not so made because they're just controlled there. The puppeteer was moving stuff, whatever. They don't even look at each other during the course of a game. So how are they going to stand up unless Bill Foley's there to tell them?
I will push back a little bit on that.
Let me have my fun on a Monday. I'm in Friday form.
You're fine. I'll push back a little bit on that. I think in the beginning, Foley had much more, and it's Foley's team. He has the ultimate influence, but the moment that Nate Schmitz was traded, that bothered Foley a lot. But he listened to McPhee and McCrimmon. At that time, it was probably McPhee, and then McCrimmon, I think, the season after. However it shook out, doesn't matter. And then, of course, Marc-Andre Fleury. That's the moment when I think Foley said, okay, it's you guys run the business. You know, the comments came out. He wants to be more involved in day-to-day and everything, right. But I don't think he is as
involved. You don't think he is?
When it comes to personnel. No. I don't think so. I think that's
how Trevor Connolly get past this radar.
Well, that's another
episode.
People love
another
talking
episode.
about that and stuff, and the character and stuff like that. But yeah,
right.
I think Foley does let McCrimmon and McPhee do their job for the most part, especially sitting below now a 4th Pacific Division title, a Stanley Cup banner, and 2 Western Conference banners. So I think that's Foley's. I think Foley kind of lets them do their thing right now.
Okay. Coming up next, now that VGK is in the playoffs in the driver's seat, and they've already wrapped up the Pacific Division. Do they have the best defense in the Pacific or in the Pacific Ocean? Now that they've wrapped up things, will the Golden Knights, who will they be playing? That's the big question here. Who do they start preparing for? Talk about it next right here on Lockdown Golden Knights. Looking for a snack that is both delicious and nutritious? Crack into a good source of protein with wonderful pistachios. Wonderful Pistachios is one of the highest protein nuts. Each 1 ounce serving has 6 grams of protein, giving you more than 10% of your daily value. Plus, they are packed with fiber and better for you unsaturated fats, and helps to keep you feeling fuller longer. So I personally like the no shells variety. It's a perfect grab and go snack for busy days like today. I can see this happening today. Whether I'm snacking at my desk, on a road trip, or just need a quick protein boost, they're always my go-to. And if you love cracking open every shell for that satisfying crunch, the in-shell options are a classic favorite. The fact that Wonderful Pistachios is a complete protein, it provides all 9 essential amino acids that you definitely need every day. No shells, Wonderful Pistachios for the grab and go ease and the satisfying crack of opening each shell. It is like snack mediation. Whether you're running between meetings or dropping off the kids, Wonderful Pistachios are the snack that works as hard as you do. Get crackin', get snackin' with a snack that packs a protein punch. Visit wonderfulpistachios.com to learn more. Get crackin', Vegas. It's Monday. Get crackin'. Visit wonderfulpistachios.com. Welcome back on this Monday edition of Locked On Golden Knights. Tony Cardasco and Chris Golick. Golick not on some street corner there in Baton Rouge. That was kind of fun last week. I enjoyed that. I did. All the sound effects. You should have brought the sound effects with you. The garbage truck backing up was one of my favorites. The ambulance was pretty good. Somebody doing burnouts there. It was all fun. We appreciate you making us your first listen each and every day. This is the kind of content that we give you every day, by the way, especially our everydayers. Thank you so much. Please make sure to subscribe to our Locked On Golden Knights YouTube channel. So, Chris, who does VGK prepare for in the first round of the playoffs? One of these 3 teams. So the Wild and Blues each have 1 game remaining. The Wild, 95 points, host the Ducks on Tuesday. They beat the Canucks in come from behind fashion the other night. 3-2. It was 2-0 every time I kept looking up there on the board. And then the big comeback for the Wild, they win that game. St. Louis, a point back at 94 points. The Blues will be hosting Utah Tuesday, a win, and they get to 96 points. I looked at head-to-head. They beat Gary all 3 meetings. So if this ends in a tie, so the only way that the Flames get in is if St. Louis loses and or the Wild lose, and then the Flames win their final games. Flames defeating the Sharks last night. They have 92 points. Wild 95, St. Louis 94, the Flames 92, and the Flames have 2 games to go. VGK tomorrow. VGK should lay down and at the Kings, and that'll do it. If they win out, 96 points, but a tie will not do it against St. Louis. St. Louis owns the tiebreaker.
All right, so the way I see it, the Wild, as far as the clinching scenarios, Wild need 1 point, one way or the other, they are in. The Blues and the Flames, this is where it does get a little bit interesting here. The Blues can clinch if they win in regulation. That would put the Blues at 96 points. That would also give them 32 regulation wins, which is the first tiebreaker. If the Flames were to win out, they would also have 96 points. And if they won both in regulation, they would also have 32 regulation wins. So the next tiebreaker is the regulation. No, nope.
It's not head-to-head?
Nope.
Are you sure?
The next 100%. The next tiebreaker is regulation plus overtime wins. That's the next one. And that's where the Blues have a 4. The Flames could not catch the Blues in regulation plus overtime wins.
If St. Louis wins, then it's pretty much done there. But
St. Louis has to win if St. Louis wins their game in regulation at home against the Utah Hockey Club, they will be in the playoffs and they will have one of the wild cards locked up. If the Flames win out, that would give them 96 points. The regulation wins don't matter at this point because they're simply just trying to get the points. The Blues would have to or no, the regulation wins would matter because of the tiebreakers and everything. So long story short here, why Minnesota 1 point therein, St. Louis Blues a regulation victory, and they are in. The Blues do not win their game in regulation, the Flames can pass them in the standings with 2 regulation wins. So one of those games against the Golden Knights, we don't know who's going to show up. We know Utah is going to want to play spoiler. The Minnesota Wild are hosting the Ducks. All these games happen on Tuesday, which is beautiful. They all happen on Tuesday, 5 o'clock Eastern, 5 o'clock Eastern for the Wild and the Blues, and then 9 o'clock. 9 o'clock Eastern. Yeah, you know what I'm saying. So
I know
it'll be a fun. It'll be a fun Tuesday of hockey to see how this
in
plays
the
out.
afternoon. Yeah, that would be 2 Pacific.
Yeah, I said that wrong way. It's 5. It's local time, is what I meant to say.
So we just got a note from the big boss, the big cheese. So they do have an eliminated host group therapy session that we're going to find on the network. So that's something you need to look.
Well, that's what we haven't had to sit inside of a long time. So
let me do the Rangers eliminated group
the Sabres. The Sabres are got that seat nice and warm for the last like 18 years or whatever it's been now.
The good news about my Rangers being eliminated, I don't have to get agita every night by watching it and keeping up with all this stuff. I need a life.
Golden Knights need to win the cup this year and trade everybody and get the first pick the following year so they can get McKenna.
Oh, did you hear? So Marchessault did say that VGK is good for the first couple of rounds. He thinks that they'll win the first 2 rounds. That's
Marchessault. It was
going back for them. He's rooting for them.
Of course he is. I mean, he's got a lot of friends. They had a dinner and everything. And
so who went to this dinner? Who went? Not Carlson.
William Karlsson. And
there's no way Karlsson ever picked up. He never picks up the tab. There's no way.
It's funny.
We appreciate everyone tuning in. Go ahead.
I was going to say it was fun watching Marchessault taking everything in. From the second he stepped on the ice for the warmups, he was looking around, just taking in every second of the game. And then it was nice during the national anthem. He wasn't facing. I mean, he not in a disrespectful way, but he wasn't necessarily facing the flag the entire time. He was just looking around, looking up in the rafters, and you can tell his mindset was to take in every single moment. And just one last note about the Preds, really fast. That was on my mental napkin here. They're a dumpster fire. That's not the developing story, but there are so many line changes where there's 7 or 8 players on the ice, like during a whistle, and they're trying to get their line straight and stuff like that. And you see Coach Burnett like pointing at players, and the players not knowing
late in the season.
He's got to be toast. If they bring him back, I don't know. I mean, Trotz's job should be on the line too. That's another story for another time. But absolute dumpster fire. A lot of great personnel. I hope the Preds do have a better situation next year.
Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. We appreciate it. Thanks for the listen and the view. We'll see you again tomorrow. For my man, Chris Golick, I'm Tony Cardasco. Please take care.